flouts traffic laws. Bill.
You know, I think it's enforcement. I drive. My partner, he's a cyclist, but you know, I think it's a two-way street. You know, the few ruin it for the many on all sides, right? There's bad drivers out there that ruin it for the good drivers, and there's the few cyclists that run the red lights and the stop signs and do that all the time and love to use their hand gestures for that. So I think again it's the few ruin it for the many, and I just think it's enforcement of the current laws. And if we could just all get along on the street, I think it would be greatly improved.
Rafael.
Yeah, I guess I agree. I think enforcement is important, and in the context of broader efforts to maintain some measure of decency on our streets as we are going after drivers who are plowing down pedestrians and cyclists. It probably makes sense to go after the cyclists who are potentially cutting off or knocking over pedestrians. But I do think that actually as we provide improved infrastructure in the city for cyclists, I think cyclists in other places tend to then sort of feel safer and actually be more likely to abide by the rules. It's still pretty dangerous to bicycle in this city, as someone who does. And I think as we need to move towards a safer city for cyclists and pedestrians.
Scott.
Yeah, I'm a supporter of the bike network and making sure that this is a very bikeable city, but it's, with that comes the responsibility for cyclists to follow the rules, and we do need to make sure that the rules are being enforced, and we need to make sure that there's good education for cyclists about safe cycling. And I agree that the vast majority of cyclists don't cause these problems, and but for the people who do, we need to make sure we're enforcing the rules.
Rebecca?
Had a person who was supporting another candidate, and that person said, hey, like you, like somebody else better. A week later, a guy comes back and he goes, you know what, I checked out your website, and you put one thing in your website that flipped me to vote for you. And I said, oh yeah, what's that? That you're the only candidate I have ever known in my 45 years of living in San Francisco that actually put in her transportation paper enforced laws against bicyclists. And I was like, wow, that was kind of easy. But I mean, to me, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, it's on my website, but I do think we've got to have better education for pedestrians, for cyclists. Like everything in San Francisco, we live in a cramped space. We all have to live with the bike lanes as they are, with the car spaces as they are, and with muni going as it is. And so, better education on all fronts. Laws should be enforced.
Thank you. Next question.